The moment his hand hit my daughter's face, the whole library froze, books dropped, heart stopped, and something inside me snapped. That slap wasn't just against her. It was against every parent who's ever watched their child get humiliated, and I swore right then I'd make them all pay. I still remember that sound, the slap echoing through the campus library like thunder. My daughter, Emily, stood frozen, her cheek flaming red. Silence fell across the room. The librarian dropped her pen. Even the air conditioners seemed to pause. All eyes turned toward Kyle, the HOA president's arrogant son. He shouted, "You think you're better than me because the lecturer praised you?" His voice cracked with jealousy. Emily's books scattered across the floor. I arrived moments later. I saw my daughter trembling. My heart turned to ice. Kyle smirked, proud of his violence, as if he'd done something heroic. Then Emily whispered, "Dad?" barely holding back tears. That's when I lost every bit of calm I had left in me. I stepped forward, gripping Kyle's wrist before he could move again. "Touch her one more time and you'll regret it. Before we go on, please, where are you watching from and what time is it right now? I want to see how many families, parents, and neighbors are feeling this story across the country tonight. Your comment helps this message reach more people who've faced unfair HOA rules too," I said, my voice low. But seconds later, Kyle was crying on the floor, his pride shattered, his arrogance gone. I didn't even raise my hand. The truth did it for me. Everyone gasped. Security came rushing in. The HOA president's son begging for help was the last thing anyone expected. That moment marked the start of a war that would shake our quiet community to its core. Because when a father protects his daughter, there's nothing he won't destroy. And that day, I decided, the HOA would pay for every tear Emily shed. Before that slap, our lives in Maplewood Estates were peaceful. Emily and I had moved there for quiet evenings and good schools after my wife passed. Our home faced the lake, surrounded by pine trees. It was supposed to be a healing place, a restart for both of us. But the HOA made life unbearable. Their president, Marlene, ran the neighborhood like a dictator in a silk scarf and pearls. Her son, Kyle, was 21, a spoiled bully who thought the neighborhood belonged to him. He'd rev his car at night just to disturb others. Emily kept her distance. She was focused on her studies, preparing for her college scholarship. I admired how hard she worked despite everything. Then the university lecturer, Dr. Lewis, praised her in front of everyone. "Top of the class," he said. "Bright future ahead." That sentence changed everything. Kyle was in the same course. He'd been failing miserably. Hearing Emily's name instead of his twisted something inside him. That evening, he sent her a message, "You don't belong here." She ignored it, thinking it was just bitterness. But jealousy grows quietly until it explodes. I never imagined that explosion would happen inside the campus library, where dreams are supposed to grow, not break. If I had known, I would have been there waiting for him. Because some battles start long before the first hit. It was a rainy Friday afternoon. Emily went to the library for group study, unaware that Kyle had followed her. He'd been mocking her for weeks, whispering lies to classmates about favoritism, calling her teacher's pet. That day, when Dr. Lewis walked in and congratulated her again for her project, Kyle's face darkened. He clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. When class ended, he cornered her near the history shelves. "You think you're better than me, huh?" he hissed. Emily tried to walk away. "Kyle, please, I don't want any trouble," she said softly, clutching her notebook. But he struck her, right across the face. The sound was loud enough to freeze the entire library. She fell, hitting the chair behind her. A stunned gasp filled the air. Even Kyle looked shocked by his own hand. Then he saw Dr. Lewis approaching and panicked. "She started it," he shouted, desperate to twist the story. That's when I entered. I'd come to pick her up early. I saw everything, the handprint, the tears, the fear. My voice echoed through the library. "Apologize. Now." Kyle sneered, "You can't tell me what to do." Seconds later, he was the one on the ground, crying, not from pain, but from the truth I dropped like a bomb. I didn't touch him. I simply looked him in the eyes and said, "You think you're better because your mom runs an HOA? "Son, your future's already gone." The color drained from his face. He didn't know I'd recorded his messages, the threats, the harassment, the late-night insults he'd sent Emily. I showed him the phone. "This is what I'll show your dean, your employer, your mother. Every word, every threat, every curse." He froze, realizing the damage. His arrogance melted into fear. "Please don't," he begged, his voice trembling. By then, students had gathered around, recording everything. "You hit a girl, Kyle," one said. "You're done." Security arrived, pulling him away as he wept. Emily stood behind me, her eyes wide with disbelief. I held her hand and whispered, "You're safe now, sweetheart." But deep down, I knew the war was only beginning. Marlene, his mother, wouldn't let this go quietly. And I was right. By sunset, she stood at my doorstep, her pearls shining like armor. "You humiliated my son," she hissed. "No," I said calmly, "your son humiliated himself." Her glare promised revenge. But she underestimated me. You don't threaten a father whose only purpose left in life is to protect his child. Within days, letters began appearing in my mailbox. Violation notices, fines for imaginary offenses. "Your lawn is 2 inches too high." "Your trash bin was visible." Unapproved mailbox color. It was Marlene's way of declaring war. The entire HOA board followed her lead, blinded by power. Emily saw me rip the 3rd notice apart. "Dad, they're targeting us," she whispered. I smiled. "Let them. They don't know who they're dealing with." I started documenting everything. Photos, timestamps, recordings. Every unfair warning became my ammunition. Neighbors began whispering. Some supported us quietly, others feared Marlene's wrath. At HOA meetings, she painted me as a violent man. "He threatened my son," she said dramatically. But the truth has a way of shining through even thick mud. I waited patiently, like a fisherman waiting for the biggest catch. Because when powerful people make mistakes, they usually do it in public. And soon Marlene made hers. One evening, I received an anonymous email with an audio file. The subject line read, "You'll want to hear this." I could play. It was Marlene's voice, sharp and cold. "Erase the footage," she ordered someone. "My son cannot appear hitting that girl." My hands tightened around the mouse. The truth I needed had just fallen into my lap. I traced the sender. It was Kyle's former friend, Liam, a neighbor sick of Marlene's lies. He wrote, "She's hiding the library footage in the HOA office. She bribed security." That night, I drove to the office, pretending to attend a meeting. Inside, while she bragged about her clean community, I slipped a small drive into my pocket. The footage was all there: Kyle's slap, his rage, Emily's tears. When I saw it, my heart broke all over again. But now I had power. I looked at Emily and said, "Sweetheart, justice is coming." Because when you mess with a man's family, you also awaken something stronger than fear, purpose. At the next community meeting, the room buzzed with gossip. Marlene smiled confidently, unaware of what was about to happen. I stood, holding a small USB drive. "Before we discuss fines," I said calmly, "let's watch something together." The projector flickered to life. Gasps filled the room. There was Kyle hitting Emily. Then came Marlene's own voice from the leaked audio. "Erase the footage." She turned pale. People started shouting. "She covered it up. That's corruption. She lied to all of us." Marlene tried to speak, but her voice cracked. Kyle sat beside her, eyes wet with shame. The board voted to suspend both of them immediately. The HOA attorney approached me afterward. "You've just dismantled half their power in one night," he said quietly. I walked home with Emily, both of us silent, our hands clasped tightly. Justice wasn't over yet, but it had begun. And in that moment, I realized something powerful. Sometimes, revenge isn't violence. It's truth spoken loud enough for everyone to hear. Within days, the story spread across town. Local news covered it. HOA president covers son's assault incident. Neighbors who once feared Marlene began standing up. Old complaints resurfaced. Years of unfair treatment finally saw daylight. Marlene's empire of control crumbled. She was removed as HOA president. Kyle faced disciplinary action from his college. He was suspended for a year. Emily was invited to speak at a student leadership event. Resilience, she called her speech. I watched her on stage, proud beyond words. She said, "You can't control who hates you, but you can control how you rise." The audience stood, applauding. I had to wipe my eyes. But not everyone forgave. Marlene tried one last desperate move, suing us for defamation. Her case lasted less than 5 minutes in court. The judge said, "Ma'am, truth isn't defamation." That day, justice had a face. It looked a lot like Emily's smile. Weeks later, I found Kyle on our front porch. His eyes were swollen, his pride gone. "I came to apologize," he muttered. "I don't expect forgiveness." Emily looked at him for a long moment. Then she said softly, "You hurt me, Kyle. But you hurt yourself more." He nodded. "I know. I lost everything because of jealousy." I watched quietly. He wasn't the same boy anymore. His arrogance had been replaced by regret. Before leaving, he said, "Your daughter deserves every good thing in the world." It wasn't redemption, but it was a start. Sometimes the deepest wounds come with lessons that take years to heal. That night, Emily hugged me. "Dad, thank you for standing up for me." I smiled. "Always. That's what fathers do." Months later, I was elected HOA president by unanimous vote. People wanted change, fairness, and peace, things that Marlene had stolen. My first act as president? I abolished unnecessary fines and built a scholarship fund for students like Emily. We named it the Maplewood Resilience Grant. At the inauguration, Emily stood beside me, her eyes gleaming with pride. When the crowd cheered, I whispered, "This is what standing up looks like." She smiled. We turned pain into purpose. The same community that once watched in silence now clapped for justice. And as I looked around, I realized, sometimes, revenge isn't about hurting those who wronged you. It's about building something so strong that they can never break you again. And that's exactly what we did.